G'day ladies and gentlemen, it's Jay and welcome back to Derriere Farms. The other day we took our first look, or our overview tour if you want to call it that, of the free AGI DLC for Farming Simulator 22 that came with patch 1.5. And we covered the equipment that came with the pack, all the extra augers, and I gave you my opinion on everything. I was mainly focused on this silo, which is the grain drying silo. It's got a fantastic capability, and this is for those of you that missed that video. It'll hold a couple of million liters of grains or crops. I love the addition of the extra augers, as I said. We didn't really get into seed production because I wanted to do a little bit more experimentation with that. And as I said in the initial video, I was a little disappointed with the shed. It's not as big as I thought it was. I thought it would be great for storing grain trailers as well as the augers, but it's a little on the small side. So that was my initial impression of the pack. However, since I have installed the pack and started playing with it a little bit more, I have come to find that it is far more in-depth than I initially thought. For example, these small silos didn't impress me much. Let's take a look at why. I pretty much assumed they were like, the container silos that you find in the base game, the Meridian ones. Or the silo extension. Well, not necessarily the silo. Yeah, the silo extensions. And I didn't really think too much of them because they don't have a huge capacity, only 76,000 liters. And I'm like, well, that's just over a trailer load of crops, and it says silos are used to store your crops. So I figured I would just play with the big silo and leave it at that, and then we would cover seed production. Like I said, I was wrong. There is far more to it than I initially thought. And I've ended up with as many questions as I had before I installed this pack. For example, now that we have to go into belt systems, but now that we have all these augers, the Meridian ones from the base game, I would like to test these, but they're not going to reach the top of the silo. But out of all these augers, which ones work best? These are unloading. This can be used to unload your silos as well as create seed. But does this one have the same unloading speed as this one does? Do these ones that are used to fill your silos, do they have the same speed as the conveyor one does? Or does the Meridian unloading conveyor, which will actually fit, does that one have a faster speed than these two do? So I want to take a look at that. I also found out that there is more to these small silos than I initially thought. I tried unloading into one, and I don't know if it's going to work or not. I have to start the engine first, of course. It shouldn't work. But it's going to, just to prove me wrong. I should actually be timing this, like I said, because I'm curious about how quick the augers are, but we'll leave that for another experiment. Anyway, when I first tried to unload into these small augers just to see how they worked, like I said, curiosity got the better of me. Nothing happened, and I didn't realize you actually had a dial here which you had to, and is it going to let me, there, open and close the cover. Let's reopen the cover. Because when I was trying to dump into the silo, it kept stopping. So it took me a second or two to figure that out. Like I said, I also, when I read the description of these small silos, they said, like, let's go back and we'll take a look, just to confirm. They're a place to store your crops. This one's a little better at 125,000, so I thought, yeah, you know, for decoration, kind of like Welka Farms, when that map comes out, these would be kind of nice. Well, I didn't realize that these silos, and we'll start filling, it'll only let you see what the fill types for the silos are. So it'll let you store all your regular crops all the way up to corn. However, it'll let you put seed in. Now there's something that's kind of good. 75 or even 100,000 liters of seed, definitely a plus. It'll let you put mineral feed in as well as solid fertilizer. I have mixed feelings on that. Mineral feed, you can't buy in bulk, so I don't know why you would be putting it in that silo. And there is no ability to buy and fill. Like I said, I assumed that these smaller silos were going to be a slightly larger version of the Unia silos, where you actually have the ability to buy seeds or mineral feed. And as they were also listed as crop silos, I assumed once you made your seed, you would have to bring it over and put it in these silos, as they specifically say they are made for seed. So I was pleasantly surprised to find out that the two smaller silos can be used for seeds. Pretty cool, huh? The only catch is that the seed producing conveyor is not tall enough to fit into one of those silos. So you would either have to fill a trailer like we've got there, or you would have to take either the conveyor that we have over there, or this auger, the AGI Westfield auger that we have here, and you could dump your seed into this and then into that silo, either from the trailer or, and it actually works. I'm not going to do it because it takes a while to maneuver these things around at a maximum speed of 3 miles an hour. If you put your seed auger down low, you can actually have it dump into there, and then it will dump into there. And you can fill your silo that way. And let's see what the capacity is again. My mind is going, I swear. 125,000 liters of seed is pretty good. I mean, that'll definitely do my main farm for 1 to 2 seasons probably. before I would have to make seed again if I filled the silo from scratch. Like I said, as far as mineral feed goes though, and the fertilizer, nice concept. But as far as I know, besides the Unia silo, the only other way, and I don't know if I have it installed here, to buy seed and stuff in bulk, here it is the multi-fruit buying station. And if you're going to take the time to take, let's say, solid fertilizer or mineral feed, buy it from here and then put it in one of those silos and then unload it again, what's the point? You might as well just buy it from the multi-fruit buying station. And I'd be damned if I'm going to load up a whole trailer load of big bags, bring them over, dump them into the auger, just to fill a silo that I have to go ahead and unload again. So I'd rather take it either from the multi-fruit buying station or from the farm store directly to my animals or to my equipment that needs it. Oh, and I had high hopes too. I forgot to mention this. Since it didn't work, I forgot to talk about it. But I thought, since those silos worked, maybe these silos would work in terms of storing seed and stuff. But no, they don't. They only store your crops. I really like them because you see them all around North America. But because most of my farms using the base game maps are limited for space, I am just going to use the large AGI grain drying silo as opposed to these small ones. And they don't count as silo extensions either, so yeah, those are a mixed blessing. Now, having said that, you guys know me. I have to try it, just because. Oh, and that was probably one of the worst backing up jobs I've ever done. No, they won't take, it won't take solid fertilizer. Well, that's too bad. Now, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Now, let's talk about seed production. And this is where it gets really interesting. I had already been given a heads up, and I watched another video where they showed that you get more seed out than grain that you put in. So as you can see, this trailer was full, and I have 25% left, but I filled that other trailer. Okay, this ties in with what I've been told. So I decided I would follow Farmer Cop's lead, and I would use the easy development tools to put 1,000 liters of seed in, different types, wheat, barley, and so on, to see what the outcome was. And barley used more than wheat did. Using a different trailer, I was left with 39% barley in my grain trailer, whereas I was left with 43% wheat. So I was like, okay, so wheat produces more. So like I said, I did the same test as Farmer Cop. And I got very, very close, pretty much to the same numbers he did. 1,000 liters of wheat in gave me 2,000 liters of wheat out. 1,000 liters of barley gave me 1,850 seed. Oats, 1,000 gave me 3,100. Canola gave me 2,670. 1,000 sorghum gave me 2,170. Sunflower, 3,420. Soybeans, 3,950. And corn, 1,954. Okay, so I immediately, again, using his spreadsheet, using his seed, actually I took it one step further. And this is where, like I said, it gets really, really interesting. So don't tune out now. I used the seed cost of 1,000 liters at $900. And I then plugged that into the spreadsheet and figured out what it would have cost me to buy that amount of seed. For example, 2,000 liters of wheat turned into, 1,000 liters of wheat turned into 2,000 liters of seed would have cost $1,800. 1,000 liters of barley turned into 1,850 liters of seed would have cost $1,670, and so on. But I decided to take the testing one step further. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Soybeans produces the most seed, so therefore it is probably the most economically viable to turn into seed, and barley yielded the least, so it's the least amount of seed generation per 1,000 liters. Okay, this is where it gets complicated. Like I said, I took it one step further, and I'm like, wait, we're not looking at the big picture. What is your opportunity cost? So if I sell 1,000 liters of soybean at the maximum price, does that work out to the same as buying I won't say buying the seed. Am I going to make as much money turning 1,000 liters of soybean into seed as I would selling it, or am I better off to use a different crop? Then my next thought was, okay, so barley doesn't necessarily convert into the most amount of seed, but it yields the most per hectare or per acre of any of the crop. So for a 1 hectare field, you get a lot more barley seed than you do soybean seed. So I decided to plug those numbers into the spreadsheet, and I'll show you what I came up with in 1 second. So as you can see here, I put in the crop price, and this is the highest, assuming you wait till the prime time of the year. It's the highest average. Now you can, depending on how many sell points you have, actually get a slightly higher price. Like I have sold on my other map, my main map, I've seen soybean go as high as 4,400, but I'm using the average from the graph of 3,900. So I plugged in the crop prices. And then I got my profit and loss. So if I turn soybean, for example, into 39.50 or 54, and the seed cost would have been 35.59, and I could have sold it for 3,900, I actually would have lost $341 doing that. So that was another thing to factor in based on the 1,000 liters. Then I had to go to Giants Academy for this to get, and actually I double checked in the XML files too, how many liters per hectare of crop you get. This is not with precision farming. This is just base game. Barley yields the most. So you get 9,600 liters per hectare of barley seed. With the second closest being corn at 9,200. So, taking it one set, then I wanted to look at one more factor, which would have been my seeds per hectare. Now, barley has a higher seeds per hectare, but none of these are huge. They're like 1,000. So for barley, 939. So 1,000 liters of barley in would give me 1,850 liters of seed out, which would allow me to seed 2 hectares of barley. See what I mean? Why it's now starting to get more complicated? Actually, looking at this again, this probably shouldn't be profit and loss, but so you automatically jump to this line here. I was like, okay, so the most economical is oats. But oats only yield 5,700 liters per hectare. It's one of the lowest yielding crops, with the exception of soybeans. So that got me thinking. And I'm sorry, this is where my math skills run out. I could have continued on, I guess. I'm not that good with Excel, and that's why I stopped here. But I got thinking, okay, so barley yields the most per hectare. It has roughly the same fertilization levels as wheat and corn does. You're going to have to spend money per hectare again on lime. Lime's a fixed cost per hectare to fix your pH level. But barley, by far, with corn being the second closest, yields the most per hectare. So you're actually saving either on solid fertilizer, because you're only using, let's say, 1 hectare to, not even 1 hectare, you're using 1/9 of a hectare to get enough seed. Same with corn. So I would say, based on that, barley and corn are your 2 best crops to turn into seed. if you factor in the number of hectares or number of acres you need to harvest for soybean to be able to turn into seed, while this number looks fantastic, you need to harvest a whole lot more acres of soybean than you do barley to be able to get enough seed to be able to turn into this number. For those of you that are good at math, let me know in the comments whether this is making sense or not. Now, if you bear with me for a few more minutes, I'm going to let you know whether this is a feature or a bug. But first, I want to do one more thing. Or I need to talk about one more thing. You would assume that the percentages would be the same. For example, 1,000 liters of barley produces X amount of seed, therefore 2,000 liters should produce the same percentage difference. Therefore, this trailer, and let's see what it holds. I forget. This trailer holds 12,100 liters of crop and or seed. It took 25% of this trailer to fill that trailer. And bear with me, this is like I said, this is very, very interesting. So this trailer holds 18,500 liters, so more than the other one does. But it only took 32% of this trailer to make that amount of seed. I am going to quickly hop over to the other two trailers. Give me 1 second. This trailer holds 37,500 liters of seed. And this trailer is only used 39% as opposed to what was the other trailer? 32%. So it seems the bigger the trailer you have, seed production increases exponentially. So it's not a standard conversion, and I think this part might be the bug. I want to try one more thing, and it's going to take me a little bit, so I'll be right back. Oh, and one more thing, be very, very careful with which trailers you use. Because these larger trailers, they barely fit underneath this auger. In fact, you have to be very, very careful when positioning them. But I'll be right back. Now, this is 82 Studios TLX series, for those of you that are not familiar with it, mod. It is a fantastic mod. The trailer actually comes with an unrealistic capacity of 250,000 liters. So based on what we've seen so far, the percentage left in this trailer should be higher than the other trailers to fill the other 250,000 liter trailer, which would mean the more seeds you make, it's increasing, as I said, exponentially based on volume. The seed treatment's disappearing at a constant rate, so I've made sure I've got hopefully enough to supply both. And we will find out from there. If this is the case, it's probably a bug, and whether it'll get fixed or not, I don't know. While we're waiting on that, and I do apologize, this video is running longer. I wanted to keep it to 20 minutes, but it's a little bit longer because the more I dig into this, the more intense it gets. For those that don't know, you can actually sell seed to Goldcrest Valley via the train or to Johnson's Farmers Market. Now, there's only been 2 months worth of data collected here so far for seasonal fluctuations, and the highest is 2,697 estimated per 1,000 liters of seed. So if you make your own seed, you can actually make a ton of money, not only making seed for your own farm, but selling it to Goldcrest Valley or Johnson's Farmers Market. So that's a huge plus. Now, in terms of, like I said, very quickly, seed production, it makes sense. Seed production varies based on crop. Because of the size of the seed. Different seed sizes in real life require pretty much the same amount of seed treatment or a little bit more to cover the seed. But the smaller the seed, obviously the more it's going to get turned per 1,000 liters into using, let's say, canola as an example, which is a very small seed, would have a pretty high conversion rate, whereas barley, while not quite as big as corn, is a bigger seed, slightly bigger than wheat, not by much, and therefore you would expect wheat and barley conversion to be about the same, and corn per 1,000 liters or per bushel, if we're in the States or Canada, per bushel, would yield a totally different amount. So I'm going to put you guys on pause for a minute while we wait for this trailer to empty, because it's going to take a while, and I'll bring you back in and we'll see what the final results are. Well, interestingly enough, the final verdict is in. We have a trailer with 250,000 liters of seed, and we only used 45% of the trailer containing seed. So the more seed you can produce, or I guess a better way of putting it is seed production is exponential. Put in a small amount of seed, you might get double your return. But the larger the trailer, the larger the return. I mean, yeah, 250,000 liters of seed. Now, I did go through a case and a half of the, what's it called? Inoculant? Well, I guess that's what it's called in real life, but seed treating liquid in the game. To produce the trailer full here. Now, like I said, I could turn around and I could sell that at the train station for a lot of money when the price is right. However, if I wanted to keep it for myself, I would have enough seed to last me a long time, and I still have pretty much just under a half trailer full of barley. So the final conclusion is, I would say, based on what we looked at, barley is your best bang for your buck, based on the fact that the game doesn't require you to plant different types of seed to seed. You don't have to worry about converting corn seed or barley or wheat or soybean seed into a same type of seed. So go with barley. The more you can produce, the bigger the trailer, the bigger the return. And yeah, you're either gonna have a lot of seed you can use yourself, or you're gonna have a lot of seed you can sell. Now, final note, it did take a long time for this to produce 250,000 liters of seed. So what I would do is I would set up the seed treating process, and then I would go about my regular farming duties. Whether you're harvesting, whether you're feeding cows, whether you're doing whatever, just let it run in the background until a trailer like this is full. Because it took me, I didn't time it, but it was pretty close to 2 hours, well, maybe 3 hours. At least 2 to 3 hours to produce this amount of seed. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful. Remember to give it a thumbs up. A thumbs up never hurt anyone. And please subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. Take care, Jay.